There, your mic's on.
Hey, Kelly. How are you?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the August 9th Town Council meeting for Beach Mountain. If you all wouldn't mind, if you could turn your cell phones off or put them on mute, I would certainly appreciate it, so that we don't get disturbed while we're conducting business. Also, I see we have 1, 2, 3, we've got 5 people that want to come up and speak. Just make sure when you come up front, you give your name and address so that the clerk can record it, if you don't mind. Okay, I need a motion to call to order.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to, accept the adopted the agenda.
Make a
Motion.
motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Cyclone, you're up.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Scripture for today is from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, 1 through 8. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill, a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to cast away. A time to rend, and a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time of war, and a time of peace. 77 years ago Saturday, it was the 6th of August, 1945, American plane, a B-29 Super Fortress, dropped the first bomb on Japan. The name of the plane was the Enola Gay. Some of you might be interested, most of you probably know it, but Leeds McRae alumni was the bombardier on the plane. The Japanese still didn't surrender though. So 3 days later, the 9th of August, which is today, the anniversary, the second atomic bomb was dropped. And the person that had the final say-so about dropping the atomic bomb was President Harry Truman. And whether you agree with his decision or disagree, I think we all agree that that's probably the toughest decision anybody in the history of the world ever had to make. And one of the interesting things about it, Harry Truman didn't even know about the program that they were building up to the atomic bombs. He was vice president, and President Roosevelt passed away. So Truman became president, and that was the first day he heard about it. It was the first day he was president. I think the Secretary of War, I believe was called then, not the Secretary of Defense. But he came in President Truman's office and said, Harry, we need to talk. And so he told him about the project and what was going on with all this. And there was a lot of dissension about it. A lot of people didn't think it should be dropped. A lot of them thought it should. One of the interesting things about it, all the scientists that worked on this project sent a letter to Truman with a petition urging him not to drop the bomb. General MacArthur didn't want to drop it. Most of Congress, cabinet members and all, and probably the general public did want to see it. One example of the feeling of the people at that time, Senator Russell of Georgia was the head of the Armed Services Committee. And he and President Truman had served together in the Senate for many years and were close friends. So Russell sent Truman a telegram, and he didn't start off, Mr. President, Dad. He said, Harry, said, I know you are being bombarded with people opposed to dropping this bomb. And he said, don't pay any attention to them. Said, drop the thing. Said, if one doesn't make them surrender, drop the second one, then drop the third one, the fourth one. Said, if you run out of atomic bombs, you get the TNT ones, the incinerator. Said, keep bombing them till they're on their knees groveling and begging and wanting to surrender. Said, they didn't show any type of moral judgment at all when they did the sneak attack at us in Pearl Harbor. So this was kind of the feeling of the general public. But anyway, we dropped the bomb, and of course, after the second one, well, of course, Japan did surrender. Truman told a story 2 or 3 years after the war was over that he got a letter from the town council in Nagasaki, and they were telling him that he should apologize to them and ask for forgiveness. And Truman was noted for his temper, and this kind of ticked him off. So he fired a letter back to him and said, I ain't apologizing for nothing. I ain't asking for no forgiveness. Said, you started it, we finished it, that's it. Said, I have no regrets. About 10 years after the war, they interviewed him on a TV station, and he said basically the same thing. I have no regrets whatsoever. If I had to do over again, I would do the same thing. And he said, as far as being opposed to it, he said, I have yet to meet the first soldier or the mother of the first soldier in World War II that was opposed to it, because it probably saved 250,000 American soldiers' lives, and a lot of experts said probably twice as many Japanese that had to go on shore with it. Would you bow your heads, please? Lord, we thank you for letting us be here today. We thank you for this place that we're privileged to call home. We pray, Lord, you'll be with our President Joe, with our Governor Roy, with our Mayor Barry. Lord, we ask that you heal our land. And we pray that you be with our military, our firefighters, EMT, law enforcement. And we ask you to continue to bless the United States of America and Beach Mountain. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of allegiance. Okay, public comments. Like I said, I have 5 people. Maximum time is 5 minutes. If you want to do less, I won't argue with you, but that's fine. Jennifer Greer, you're up.
Janet Greer, 504 Oz Road. The following is a slightly abridged version of a letter previously sent to the town manager, mayor, and council from Paige Lighty in reference to the recent color change of the Oz Emerald Water Tower from a dark green mural to a bright blue. Dear Mayor and Town Council, thank you for briefly discussing the Oz water tank color at the July 12th Town Council meeting, as I heard via webcam. The Town Council has asked for additional discussion and clarifying questions. In response to Widener and Kelly's specific question, the property underneath and around Oz Emerald Tank is owned by Emerald Opportunities, Inc., sister entity to Emerald Mountain, Inc. Both entities are 100% owned by the Lighty family, who also paid for the water tank's original installation. The word consistency was mentioned a couple of times in the July 12th meeting. Consider this. Is the sight of a huge bright blue water tank something you would want immediately adjacent to your home or business after the tank had been green for decades? Setting a precedence was raised. The precedent for this particular water tank was established years ago, and status quo created when the town allowed the tank to be painted a green mural. As quoted from Town Manager Bob Pudney's June 29, 2021 email, it is reported that the town at the time agreed to allow the painting of the tank with the stipulation that the town would not be responsible for the repainting or upkeep of the exterior of the tank, specifically the design, end quote. Restoring the color to what it has always been, green. would continue to have the same beneficial impact to multiple groups, including many first-time Town of Beech Mountain visitors, POA residents, the ski resort, Land of Oz, and community overall. Nevertheless, Emerald Mountain Inc. is willing to cover the entire expense to have the paint color change to any color green that the council chooses. As part of the additional discussion, I encourage the mayor and town council members to look at the tank in person prior to making a decision. Please let me, Paige Lighty, know if there is any additional clarifying items the town manager, mayor, or town council member has related to this discussion and ultimate decision. It is therefore respectively submitted that the town council authorize the tank to be restored to a green color, specifically the green color called Tree Line by Valspar Paint, an exterior matte finish, paint number 5006 4C, as referenced as option number 1 in the consent agenda, page 23 through 29. Given the above detail and background, it is our belief and position that it's appropriate and reasonable for the council to approve the request for the Oz Emerald water tank to be painted the Tree Line green color. We look forward to hearing a favorable response. Sincerely, Paige Lighty, Emerald Mountain Inc. I'll just add my personal opinion as well. The years that I've been security in the area, I've had to run people off the top of it when it was blending very well. Now that it is extremely noticeable and questionable, what the heck is this bright blue thing in the middle of all these trees? It definitely draws a large crowd to see what it is and why it's there. So from a security aspect, I prefer the green as well. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Dr. Miller?
Mary Miller, Gulfview Drive. Since the last meeting, when we talked about supporting the first responder unit, I've received over 20 checks and over $3,000. The former drive will not start until the fire department actually places the order, but several of the people commented that they're making the contribution because of the ambulance required.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rodney Morgan?
My name is Rodney Morgan, and I live at 318 St. Andrews Road here. And I have been a suburb resident for 20 years, and this is my first appearance before this other august body. And I'm glad that I don't have to make them very frequently. But this one I am upset about. As you can tell, I can't walk very well. And so consequently, I am forced to hire somebody to clean the leaves from my yard. I have done this every year for 20 years. Oh, well, that's not true. I've done it for 10 years. Before that, I could do it. And this year, for the first year, when I called to have a special pickup, I was told, oh no, that I had been reported as having a contractor clean up my yard. And so I had to pay the contractor for taking leaves away. Now, I would suggest to you that this is a violation of the American Disability Act. And the reason I would suggest to you that is that any able-bodied person who can go and clean their yard gets their trash taken away. But disabled people are not able to have the benefit of that city service. Now, I'm not going to go into a long dissertation today about the law or the ordinance, but I would read to you this portion. This is ordinance 50.13E, 1 and 5. And it states in pertinent part, the following items and or materials may be collected by the town upon request of the customer as a special pickup, but not to exceed more than 4 pickups per 12 months. when those items are generated by the customer and do not result from the operation of a commercial enterprise or the activities of a private contractor. The essence of that law is that the city or the town will pick up the trash generated from cleaning the front yard for able-bodied people, but not for disabled people. And that's simply in violation of the act, at least as I read it. Now, I have here a copy of the act, but it would take days to read it to you, so I won't. But I sent each of you an email on June 21st that outlined this problem and asked to have it placed on the agenda. I looked at the July agenda and it did not appear. So I decided to come and make myself a nuisance today by appearing. But my point is that the town should correct this. Now, the Administrative Act says that the town should make an accommodation. What is that? Well, let me tell you what it is in this respect. It's just a minor change to the law that says this is correct for everybody but disabled people, so that able-bodied people and disabled people get the benefit of the city's service, which is what should be done, and it's fixed. That's a very, very, very small change to law. Now, I'm sure that the reason that this law has been enforced recently is that it saves the town money. And I don't doubt that that's a good thing. I don't like paying taxes much, and I'm sure you don't. But it should not be at the expense of the disabled. And so I would ask you to correct it. If you feel, well, gee, there are all these old geezers that live here now, and they're all going to say that they're disabled, well, if you want to make an accommodation regarding that, you could simply request a proof of disability. It can't be onerous because the statute says it can't be onerous, but you could have people register with the city saying that I can't do this, and it would be able to satisfy the town's requirement.
Okay.
I've spoken
Thank
long
you.
enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rodney Morgan?
That's what
No, I'm sorry. I want to hear, I wanted to hear it again. Lisa Bauer? Lisa?
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to approach.
Just state your name and address.
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry. Lisa
For the clerk.
Bauer, 3441 South Beach Mountain Parkway. I wanted to address the town council today about possibly revising or amending the requirement on the solid waste ordinance around the enclosure that you're now requiring. You're requiring not only the commercial businesses, but also the condo associations to erect around the dumpsters that were placed on our property back in October of last year. I'm not sure if you're aware, and if you're not, I would like to bring to your attention the fact that this, our condo association is a not-for-profit. Our only way of generating revenue is to take in monthly assessments from our, from our association members. We try to keep those costs low, obviously, but the estimates that we have received to put in the two sites, we only have two sites that Republic has designated that we can use and they can service. appropriately. The cost to do something with either of those sites ranges between $15,000 and $30,000. Now, it might not seem like a lot of money to you all from a town perspective, but when you're talking about a 34-unit condo association who is not flush with cash by any stretch of the imagination, we have a lot of maintenance to do on our buildings, on the property, and to keep it looking nice and, God bless you. And we've been struggling with this since this whole thing came about last year. It's really divided our community to the point where, I know Councilman Accardi, you alluded to this, with the taxes and people coming harassing you and things like that. Well, our board members are experiencing the same thing because of all the consternation around getting the dumpster and now putting in the enclosure and where they want to put it, and there's only certain places to put it. There's only 2 places to put it on our property. Nobody wants it in front of their unit. We're not trying to be the bad guys, but we're just struggling terribly. We have a lot of renovations to do. We have a lot of things that we need to fix, and to take $15,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 out of that budget is crippling to us. And with our taxes going up next year, whatever that number is, to add on an assessment to those unit owners to put up this enclosure plus do the renovations that we need, it's just, quite frankly, as the president of the board, I don't have the heart to do that to people. The rentals are down. I don't think that's a newsflash to anybody here. A lot of our unit owners rent their units out as income generating properties. It's been very quiet this year, this summer, sorry. So I would just ask that you take that into consideration and maybe revise, amend, repeal that need, or at least, back off of the $100 per day fine if we don't come into compliance, and let's work it out. Let's work on something. We're not opposed to doing it. It's just that, our board is made up of volunteers, along with the other community association boards. We're all volunteers, and this has been just really burdensome for us. So I appreciate your time and consideration in this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barry, and I just had a suggestion for her. Have you thought about joining with another condo association?
There's no one around us.
There's not.
No, ma'am. And we tried to partner with somebody and that didn't work out.
Is that what we did?
And then that didn't work out for us, but thank you for that.
Okay.
Mitch? Give me name and address to the clerk, please.
Mitch Muley. I live at 3141 South Beach Mountain Parkway. I'm here to talk about a couple of things. First, I'd like, when the attorney has a time at the end of the meeting, I was at the last meeting and did speak. He said he would check with the, with the Attorney General of the state of North Carolina, whether or not we could get an exemption from amending our budget on July 1st. So when his term comes, I'd like to know what was the outcome of that, yay, nay, or whatever happened to it, because I think it made a great difference that you wanted to amend the budget, and I think that was very conducive on the part of some of the board members. I want to talk, and I see it's on the agenda for a public hearing, and I really truly do hope, council, that you will listen to the people. We've gone to public hearings before. We've gone to the one on the dumpsters. We didn't get anywhere. It was all, I think, I was there that night, I spoke. I think we just came to an adoption that, well, it's going to be what is going to be is going to be. We never wanted the opportunity to do barricades because we didn't need pickup, because our community is very difficult to do barricades. So we really didn't want to do that. We wanted just to use the convenience center. So with that in mind, I would like to, Mr. Pudney, when he gets ready to do the budget, if this year, I think October, whatever date he picks, to look and see what the convenience center has done. I know the tonnage is down. We understand that it has to be down because many of us are not using it anymore. Is it profitable? Is it making money, losing money? Is money going to be having to take out of the general revenue in order to support the convenience center? Because we know that many less people are using the convenience center, and is it working? We would just like to know that. We would like the opportunity to go back and use the convenience center, which we paid for many years, our convenience fees, and we were only able to use it just a brief time before we were told we could no longer use it and we had to go to a dumpster. Again, I will agree with Ms. Bauer. It's not an easy fact, folks, for us to put a dumpster there. It's just not easy. Very hilly. We have a dumpster. It's not even viewable off of Beach Mountain Parkway. You can't even see, if you drive by our community, you can't see the dumpster. You have to go down into the community to see it because it's not there. So, that's one thing about this dumpster. Is it easy and is it convenient? Yes, I will admit that. It is easy for me. I just walk down there, dump the garbage, and I'm done with it. But then again, I don't have to look at it. It's not outside my front window. And so there's some issues there. The last thing I would like to say a little bit, and if I rambled, I'm sorry, but I see on the new business there's going to be a public hearing on outdoor amusement and recreation. I will be there and I would like to speak as well, because I think there was a gentleman who spoke last week, and I don't want to be disparaging at all, but he said we live in a very affluent community. And I would probably say we do live in a pretty affluent community. However, when you drive up this mountain and you see what's on the left-hand side as you enter this beautiful mountain, I think you would agree that T-shirts hanging off the rafters, signs that are put up and according to your ordinances are not allowed to be put up over 14 days, and yet they've probably been there 14 months. All these kinds of things kind of rankle us a little bit. And then when we are being forced, we could be forced to pay a $100 fine, and you can't even see our dumpster because it's not enclosed. To us, it just doesn't seem quite fair. That someone, and it is distracting. If you look at it, it's got a lot of sandwich board signs, a lot of whatever. And to be honest with you, the town does a good job. You put up something, if you're a street dance or whatever, you put it up. After Saturday, it's gone. That's fine. No problem. We don't have a problem with that. But if you all had to live next door to this commercial property, as we do, and it wasn't always like that, like some people in the community last time said to us, well, you bought there. You knew what it was going to be. No, we didn't buy there with a climbing wall that buzzers. We didn't buy there with a gym mine that I've seen a total of one person use since it was erected 2 months ago. And it's an eyesore, folks. I'm going to be honest with you, it's a blasted eyesore. And so we asked and we appealed to the council in its good judgment, and we appealed to Mr. Pudney, the town manager, to look at this and to try and give us some relief. And that's all we can ask. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to adopt the agenda, consent agenda. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 7-1, the water tank, painting blue. Money yellow.
I'd like to comment on that.
Go ahead.
You're talking about the 7-1 Emerald water
So-
tank?
Yeah, you got 1, 2, and 3 colors choices.
So 1 is their first choice, and at first, I think it may have been insinuated that the water tower was on town of Beach Mountain property. That being said, I do think we need to be consistent. However, since the tower water tank is on someone else's property, then if they want to paint it green, their first choice is the tree line,
Option 1.
option 1.
We need to let them do that.
Huh?
I think we need to let them do that.
Sure, I do as well. My position is to allow them to paint it. Option 1.
I agree with that. It's a win-win solution, saves the town money, makes the emerald out back, or the emerald.
And we've heard from the residents as well in Oz, and it's been like that. And of course, after listening to Jana with the security, it just solidifies it even more that we need to allow them to be able to have it the color that they like.
I appreciate the Lighting family email regarding the
Right.
property and all that, as well as the homeowners association, so I agree. I think, yeah, if it's Beach Mountain property, then we should think about Beach Mountain Blue, but it's not, so I agree with Jimmy, with Vice Mayor.
Bob, you have a comment?
Yes, if you're going to make a motion to approve two things, the town vendor that maintains our water tank needs to be the vendor that paints the tank, and Mr. Leidy had agreed to that on a phone call with me. And the quote, which I had promised to bring to council from that vendor to change the color and repaint the tank, is $12,400.
So
The town's not spending.
with,
Pardon me? No, that, Mr. Leidy agreed to do it at their expense.
Right.
The only caveat is we can't allow just someone to paint the tank. It's
Okay.
a permitted water tank. So the requirement was that the town vendor who maintains our tanks would then repaint it at this, whatever color you chose. The cost of $12,400 will be paid by the Leidy's or Emerald.
Who will be in charge of maintaining the tank from yours?
We are.
On the color?
On the color?
Yeah, we are. The tank is town property. It is controlled by the town utility. And so staff recommended that you approve this. So we have no problem recoding it. It just needs to be done by the town vendor because of the responsibility of the tank.
will they pay the will they pay the vendor directly?
No, we'll run this through the town. We'll pay to have it painted and then be reimbursed. As long as that's approvable by the five of you. I mean, I get the consensus that you're going to approve it, so I just want to make sure that was part of any motion.
I want to make a motion that we have that we allow for that water tank.
I'll second it.
Well, let's name the type of paint so there is no confusion.
Yes, sir.
I thought it was option one.
It's option one, to have it repainted tree line, the color tree line, Valspar,
Okay,
So motion to adopt option one
option one.
for painting the tank.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it'll be blue. No, sorry. New business. 8-1. This is a resolution for the High Country Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. I need a motion to approve. This is an adoption, a resolution by the state. Has everybody read the resolution?
I have. Chief, can you explain what the mitigation plan is?
Yeah, this is a requirement. Ultimately, it comes from FEMA through the state, and then it comes to the counties. And a number of the western counties, Watauga being the primary one for us, have banded together to come up with a Western North Carolina hazard mitigation plan. And it's a comprehensive hazard mitigation plan that deals with earthquakes, flooding, wildfire, things that FEMA would respond to. This is a requirement of the town if we would ever desire to do a FEMA reimbursement from a disaster that may occur. Without being a formal adoption of this hazard mitigation plan, it would put that reimbursement at risk.
Does each town have input in this, or is this done by the county? Or the decision-making done by the county and they put the program together, or do all the towns have somewhat of a say-so in it?
Well, we certainly have input. The county, the region contracts out for the plan to be developed and written, and they did. This isn't the first year of the plan. This is the reapproval cycle. There were some minor amendments. I've reviewed the plan. It's nothing extraordinary.
So this is state of North Carolina language.
Yes,
Sitting
the
in here.
resolution that you have before you is the language that was presented to us by the state.
Okay.
It's a state resolution.
Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adopted. All right, the public hearing, I need a motion for a public hearing for September.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just a background on the public hearing. we are aware of, unfortunately, the town doesn't really have any control over what's being put because of the way the ordinance is written. So this is why we're realigning the ordinance so that we can control what is being put in the town. I mean, right now, and we use that example many, many times, somebody decides they want to put a fair wheel out in the front yard or the front, coming up the mountain. There's nothing we can do because there's nothing in our ordinance will stop it. So for next council meeting, I'd like to have as many people here to give their opinion so that when we do pass the ordinance, which I'm pretty sure we will, that we don't get the feedback in the sense, well, I didn't know about it, or I wasn't involved, or, any kind of backlash of what we're trying to do. So I'd like to try to get as many people here as possible, voice their opinions. We'll have it on record. And then once we pass it, then everybody will know. There won't be any situation.
So the public hearing will be at our next council meeting?
Next council meeting.
So is this prior to, is this public comment, or this will be just an opening?
Opening.
Okay, gotcha.
Mary, while we're sort of on this subject, what is going on with the big, I always call it the big blue building?
It's for sale.
Again.
Again, after 30 years.
You got a $4 million check?
No, I think you do.
Well, I did, but the bank wouldn't accept it.
What about?
In fact, they charged me a fee of $35.
No, is there any, did he walk away from it, or?
No, we're trying to work with him and so that he can put it together or do some work on it. I mean, he does have a permit to do work in there. The town is doing
Is it
as
going
much.
into foreclosure, or where? is he
No,
at?
no.
Did he just decided to quit?
He hasn't quit, he's working part-time.
Okay, is he supposed to clean it up a little bit?
The town is working very close with that.
I go up there with a weed.
We're handing out brooms.
It's horrible looking.
It's not really a public hearing, a public comment, so,
Okay.
Go ahead, Nancy.
I just got a quick question where you're talking about things that are eyesores. Is this ordinance that you're talking about going to include homes that look like Sanford and Son, or?
This is commercial.
Yeah.
Or can that be addressed? And as to what's
It's,
going on?
Don't we have
it's your
a-
private property. I mean, if it does get, if it's too much stuff around, we will cite them. I mean, we do have certain ideas and ways to do it. But to write an ordinance and say that you can't have Sanford and Son property, and we can't do that. Yes, ma'am.
Is the ordinance going to be, I guess, retroactive, if you will, to
No.
this? So we can't do anything about what's out there right now?
Only the state of North Carolina can do that. We're not that privileged.
What about the town having any kind of restrictions?
Yeah, we'll be all part of it.
Like there's a house on the corner of Mariah and Village. The color is brighter than this. I just noticed it. That shouldn't be. I don't know about you.
We had an application for Hooters, but we turned that down. Well, I'm getting older.
Moving
I need a motion to create an American, you got the plan in front of you, the resolution. That's the money that we received.
What was the amount of that one?
$103,257.98.
So this motion is to accept it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, make a motion to
Make a
accept.
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Town manager?
Mayor and council, thank you. Couple things, well, actually more than a couple. Summer camp is completed last week. It was extremely successful. There's a report in your packet on page 65 that gives a graph on how the summer camp has grown. I compare it to 2019 so that we could look at pre-COVID. We always are interested in revenues that aren't talked about well at the Parks and Rec. The summer camp itself grossed $32,360 for the 7-week program. So we had a very successful camp and wanted to bring that to your attention. If you'd also look on page 62, Parks and Rec report, the revenues continue to trend higher at 21,000 plus, and the programs, which are our highest revenue category. If you recall, when you met with me back at the budget, I think it was in January, February, you asked us to take a look at the revenue side of the Parks and Rec department to offset some of their costs, and the programs have been increased and they have been well attended, and we seem to have a win-win situation where we've got a lot of people participating in the programs, and we're being recouping some of the costs in that department. The DOT is paving the parkway.
Nobody's noticed, right?
I just need to note that my phone has been ringing and my emails have been, this is a state DOT project. The town manager of Beach Mountain and specifically the town council have no control over the DOT. If we did, we would have had the road paved years ago. So we're gonna have to suffer through it. They are ahead of schedule. I had told you in the schedule that Daniel had sent you, had them in mid-September. They're going to be completed in August, obviously, which means we'll be totally completed before Oz. And they're working during the day at DOT's decision because of the switchbacks from a safety component. So they did Banner Elk at night. They are not doing Beach Mountain Parkway except during the day, and again, we have no control over that. We had our first annual farmers market last Friday the 5th. It was a great success. I want to thank Fred Full and all who worked to put that together. There was a number of vendors, limited amount of produce. Hopefully that will change. Sandy Carr and Fred Full met with me yesterday, and they would like to plan for a second event the Friday of September 2nd, and I told them go ahead and give it a try. So that seemed to be well attended by the public.
Bob, on your report of the painting, will they be considering the road reflectors back?
Yes, they'll do road reflectors, they'll do striping and shoulder work. So I sent council an email on our FEMA brick grant for Lake Coffee. If you recall, that was the $15 million grant that we had applied for. We received verbal notification that we were not awarded that grant. We're waiting for written response. We'd like to see what the reasons are so that we can make a decision to reapply. It's a continuing funding program. The next opportunity will be in the fall. And additionally, as I wrote to you in my email, we're still working, we're looking at and soliciting as many grants as we can get, both in infrastructure, which there seems to be quite a bit of federal money available, but also Parks and Rec, because this is going to be a recreation facility as well, open space, walking trails, those type of things, and there's money available for that. So we'll continue searching for those funds, but not getting that FEMA grant was a disappointment. Speaking of Lake Coffee, our engineers responding to the state. We've had numerous discussions, and now we're actually making progress where the state has said, well, give us a plan that we can accept. And we seem to know what those parameters are. So the engineer's working with that. We'll have something to them within the next 10 days. And the whole idea is work towards an agreement for a permit.
What about the expenditures with the Lake Coffee project? How are those going to be accounted for?
Currently, the engineering fees are being accounted for through the utility, we have an infrastructure fee that's added to the utility bill, and those funds are being used to fund the engineer. when we get, through the design and permitting process, we have to raise several $1 million, and that's why we're looking at grants and funding mechanisms, and we may have to do a bond. We don't have that answer yet, but we're working towards that.
So you can reapply for the grant in
The fall,
fall,
yes.
and you'll find out from whomever you submitted the grant to, maybe where we can make an improvement so that
Correct.
they would lean in towards our favor?
Correct. As you recall, we applied through the state. These are federal funds that are handed to the states, and then the states are set up to disperse those. We applied through the state, and we were number 3 in the state. It then goes to the federal government to be scored, 2 levels of scoring. The first scoring we did well, as I reported last month. The final scoring, we were not selected. We don't have a reason. We got the verbal that, hey, by the way, you didn't win the lottery. When we get that reply on exactly what the issues were with the application, depending on what they are, will depend on what we can do in the fall.
And Steve's our grant writer for writing the grant?
Steve, myself, we're using Benji from, depending on what this particular grant, we use West Consulting for the engineering. It was heavy in engineering numbers and information.
Is it a all or nothing grant?
It is. Yep. And as, we've done fairly well in grants this year. As I reported last month, a total of $5,100,000 has been received. We got another $400,000 utility grant from the state. So not all is lost, but this was the big one that we really wanted to help us push Lake Coffee through. The walkway lights along the pedestrian walkway from the Greenway to the Bark Park are being installed. I just want to note this is 100% funded by the TDA, and you'll see those, they're putting the poles up now. I saw them pouring concrete. So those wooden poles and lights will be on that walking path. I believe there's 18. So you'll see that work is underway. Our raw water well down on Pinnacle Ridge Road, the bid opens this Thursday, and we'll know what that cost is and what the parameters are as we move forward. We need to get that well online. As I reported to you, it takes about 12 to 18 months to construct, get it online, and put the first gallon of water in the system. So that's an important piece of the utility that needs to be put in place.
So there's 2 live wells now?
There's one.
One.
The well down at Locust Ridge did not meet the minimum criteria for a well, so we'll abandon that and move. And look, we don't have another site. We're looking for one more site, and if that can be located. As I explained to council many times, that the agreement was that we would drill a well, and if we got 2 dry wells together, we would stop. So we've got one more hole to put in the ground and see what we get, if we can find a spot. And we don't have a location yet. So we may come up with only one well, and that's what we're bidding on Thursday, and it will put about 150,000 gallons a day in a 24-hour period into the system.
We are using Shane Park well.
We are. Shane Park well is a different well. That's one that fills Buckeye Lake. And as I reported to you, we had to change our treatment at the water plant to handle the increased manganese that comes out of that well. Dumpster enclosures. Last month, you directed me to get moving on those. The letters went out, as you have heard tonight. All the violations have been cited. The fines are accruing at $100 a day. Most issues that we've received revolve around not being able to find contractors to do the work. And as we were told last month, we'll continue enforcement until it's resolved. If you would look at page 38 of it's the financial report. Last month I'd asked you to wait till this meeting to look at the June 30th report. That is the fiscal year end for the last budget. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at those numbers, but what I wanted to point out to you is, in last year's budget, which ended June 30, I had requested and you had approved $1,720,984 from the fund balance. We used that, we transferred that from the fund balance to balance the budget last year at this time. As the numbers show you, we've used $993,568 to finish the budget. The budget came in at 5.4% below budget. What that means, bottom line, is that we put $727,416 back into the fund balance. So with all those numbers, what happened was we completed the year. We did everything that you promised the town you would do, and we did it at 5.4% less than what you budgeted, and put $720,000 back in fund balance. So that's the fiscal year report for June 30th. The auditor is here, has been here for a number of days, and is working through that, and these numbers won't be revised, but we'll have a report in December on how that was put together. The water and sewer is the next page. It finished in the black, about $46,831 to the good. There was a question tonight about the sanitation fund. It did fairly well, $113,114 to the good in the black. So your financial position as of June 30th, 2022 on last year's budget, in my opinion, is extremely well. You accomplished what you said you would accomplish, and you did it for less than you said you would spend. So. Some distressing news on EMS issue. I want to update the council. As you know, you funded and we put the EMS unit in Fire Station 2, and it's been running since May 14th, and I've reported to you on 2 months running the success and the response time of the unit. Avery County manager Philip Barrier called the state office of EMS and filed a formal complaint that the Watauga unit was responding to medical calls in Avery County within the town of Beech Mountain. The state issued a verbal cease and desist order, which means that unit that we have cannot respond into Avery County, can't come to this facility tonight here should we have an emergency call. Avery County has to be dispatched and they have to respond. So I placed a call for the county manager. As typical that it's been, he hasn't returned my call. The Watauga County manager's on vacation. I've got a meeting with him Thursday. You should know, and I think I've explained it to you before, that the town really doesn't have a standing in this, because EMS in the state of North Carolina is by statute provided by the counties. So we're beholden to both Watauga and Avery County because we're in 2 counties. So I'm going to reach out to the county manager, Watauga County manager, and ask Watauga, they've got to fight the fight for us. There has to be a written agreement between Watauga and Avery to allow our unit to respond in the section of the town in Avery County. And until that's worked out, we've been prohibited by the state from continuing that response.
So you said if there was a situation here tonight, our new med unit wouldn't be able to respond. What happens if we put them in a POV and take them to the county line? I mean,
I like that.
this is a life and death situation. It's a life and death situation. I'm serious when I say that. It's a life and death situation. So Avery County is putting $1 in front of someone's life. And that's not the purpose of this EMS unit. It's to save lives on Beech Mountain. Each mountain encompasses Avery County and both counties. And if it means, at 20 seconds, 20 seconds
Is this a dollar sign thing, or is this?
No, I don't believe it is. I don't believe it's financial, because Watauga has offered on our behalf to pay, reimburse Avery County for every call in their county that they would lose transport fees, and that fell on deaf ears. I believe this is political, and I believe it's personal. There's no justification, no one can justify the fact that the closest paramedic unit shouldn't respond to a medical emergency. Obviously, the state says there has to be boundaries, and there has to be licensing, and there has to be districts, and I understand that. We're unique because the county line, transverses through the town.
So are there any restrictions with the LZ?
If the patient comes from, if we flew a patient out last night, it was a Watauga County location, and we drove them to the LZ, which happened to be in Avery County, and we did not call Avery County.
Is this directed from the town manager, or the county manager, or the commissioners?
We were told by the state Office of EMS that county manager by name called to file a complaint. So I don't know, because I can't get a reply. I don't know where it's coming from.
That's unbelievable.
So we're doing the best we can. We've had a couple calls, one today, that in our unit, the unit that the town pays for, the town taxpayers pay for, both Watauga and Avery County taxpayers, was held at the county line while we waited 38 minutes for an Avery County unit to come from Newland.
That's
So at this point, as soon as I get some more information, I'll bring you up to speed, but you needed to know that this has come to a head. It was Thursday.
Bob, why haven't we annexed? Is that another problem?
Well, this was a long-standing
Yeah.
problem with Avery and Watauga County.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we have elected commissions.
That's what I'm saying.
So Mayor, that's my report.
I think I'd like to answer that gentleman's question about the budget, so he doesn't feel that we are avoiding the question. The point is, we can't. And
Yes, sir, I'm happy to answer
the
that.
attorney would be glad to give you a response.
Yes, sir, I provided a memorandum to the town council as to the issue, as to the amendment of the budget. By statute, you cannot amend either the millage rate or the debt service once that's been adopted for a fiscal year. So there is no legal grounds to make that amendment for the 2022-2023 budget. It would have to be addressed in the next year's budget if there's to be any change.
Can I ask, since it's being addressed, may I respond? Then, when I respond to the council, then if we see a nice surplus of money, we understand that our taxes are doubling this year, but it would be nice on the council's behalf, if we do well, that they rebate some of this money back to us, or back to, for the following year, so that our tax burden can be lessened instead of increased.
I think the attorney can answer that question too.
Yes, sir. The town can't do it as a rebate necessarily. What they can do is adjust the millage rate for the future year and make such adjustments as they see fit.
I know the rebate issue is an issue that somebody brought up, but I didn't think that was possible. Just like I didn't think you were gonna be very successful in getting the state of North Carolina to allow you to amend the budget after they put a deadline. I'm very aware of state law. But I would say, if the council so sees it, maybe next year, we don't have to go at 68 mils. Maybe we can go to 50 or 55 or something like that and have some kind of leeway, so we can give some kind of relief to the taxpayer. Because when you go from paying $1,000 a year to paying almost $1,900 a year all in 1 year, that's quite a substantial jump. And I don't think anybody, feels that that's kind of fair.
Okay, so we have answered your question. Ms. Kenyon, you want to start us off?
Sure, I can do that. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. It's really good to see more faces. It shows us that you're wanting to get involved and pay attention and see what's going on with the town. As I looked at all of the individual reports that we usually get, if you look at the police reports, the numbers are up from everything that we've had the same time last year. So you can see that we've still got quite a few people that are here. We have quite a few people, summer residents, that are extending their stay rather than leave September. Many of them are staying till October, November. So they're increasing the amount of time that they're staying up on the mountain. So it's super important that we have input and hear things from you. We greatly appreciate that. If not here, outside. Whether it's at the, in my case, the club. I get caught every morning at the exercise room, the things that are happening on the mountain. And I'm sure they'll ask me tomorrow morning about the DOT and the paving, because I've already heard all about that in the past week. But, you know, things are going really well. We've been very fortunate. Yes, I've been stuck in the pavement and the one-way lanes going up and down as well. But I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't see anything slowing down yet. The traffic coming up, the traffic going down, the grocery stores, everything's increasing. And no one's leaving. More people are coming, is what I see. From a standpoint of the public hearing next month, as many people that we can get is extremely important from my end. Because when we first started together with this council, it was extremely important. We know that our mountain is growing, but we have to grow it cautiously. And I don't want a Sevierville. You know, it's a fun place to go visit, but we don't want our mountain to turn into that. And yes, I'm taken a little aback when I come up the mountain and see things that look carnival-y. I don't like that look either. And I don't have to look at it every day, but if I had a condo that I had to, I'd have concerns also. So I empathize greatly with those of you that do. I'm perplexed and concerned about Republic. We worked very hard on that to come to solutions of what to do with our commercial, our condo associations, how to be able to handle our garbage. That was a rough year last year when I was having to come to terms with it. Now we're working through it. Again, we all empathize with folks that have to deal with ugly dumpsters, and they're ugly. I'll tell you, you know, I'm a very patriotic person, but red, white, and blue just doesn't fit in with our mountain theme. It would be a lot easier on the eyes if they were green and brown and blended a little bit more. However, take heart to know that when I drive home from the stables every day, they're all over Valley Crucis and they're right next to the Mass General Store. So it just seems that Republic has cornered the market on just about everywhere. But we're working on it, and I know that it's nice to know that there are condo communities that are trying to work together. We're a unique town. You know, I hated that Chief's last comment was the fact that we have conflict going on right now between Avery and Watauga. Because I think personally it's ridiculous that we have to worry about Avery not wanting to cooperate with us, with as hard as we've worked and the need for emergency services. I heard that copper last night, and it just seems like the past week or two has been busier than normal. But we have the need for it. And so I don't want anybody to have their family wait 32 minutes because Avery doesn't want to cooperate with us. So we have to rectify that. We're growing, but we're also extremely unique when you go over the county line. It's just bizarre, but it's something we have to deal with, and I can promise you from my end, and I'm sure the council feels the same way, we will continue to do everything that we can to fix this as quick as we can, because this is very frustrating to me.
Thank you. Ms. Malang?
So I'm totally excited about one of our budget.
Your kid graduated?
Yeah, that too. Thank you, sweet baby Jesus. Now, I'd like for you to talk about the Fork Trail, the new trail that's
Just
over.
completed.
Yeah, which is great. Thank you, TDA and Parks and Rec, to have someplace safe for people to be able to walk down to the overlook. So if you don't mind, just go ahead and give an overview.
The Fork Trail, the Parks and Rec Department cut that trail through after flagging it. It was 100% funded by the TDA. In fact, the TDA last year funded an excavator to help build trails. So that North Fork, which goes from what I call the Greenway, some people call it the bus stop, goes up through the easement that we received from the elders and goes behind the hotels down to the overlook. And you're welcome to go out there and walk it. Believe
I've already done that.
the TDA board members were going to walk it. They have it on their agenda tomorrow to discuss some improvements. So that's one piece of the fork. The other piece of the fork goes to Christie Way. Currently, we're struggling to get a small easement where we can get off the parkway down to Ski View Circle, and then that will go to Wegling Way and then down to the resort. And so that will be the fork. That'll focus back at the old recycling center, which will be the trailhead for a number of those planned trails that are going to go through that area.
Yeah, so big thanks to the elders for
Yes.
providing the easement to be able to do it. And I think it's great that we have a safe way for people to try and go from Fred's or Town Hall down to the resort. I may be beating a dead horse on this one, but the whole recycling thing, that was my other question. Where are we with mixed-use recycling, or?
We're not there.
Okay,
We're still separating it and taking it to Watauga land, the recycle or landfill. They are completing their facility to be a mixed use where you don't have to sort it. That hasn't been completed yet, so our program continues.
so we're
as
still parsing
separating.
it all out. Okay, that was my 2 comments, and my son graduated.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Staff Hardy?
Yes, sir. Bob, in regards to the EMS unit, would it help if we contact individually, the 5 of us, the county commissioners, to lay some heat on their county manager, or how's that work?
Couldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Couldn't hurt.
Okay. So,
At this point, this is going to come down to our taxpayers in the town of Beech Mountain that happen to reside in Avery County also pay taxes to Avery County. They are not being served well by Avery County. So not only the 5 of you join me in talking to the county elected officials, our residents that live in Avery County should call too.
sure. Well, I'd encourage the council to do that. Next, with the water tank, I hope that's a win-win solution. It saves the town some money, it makes some of the property owners happy. With Mr. Morgan's comment, the leafs and the special pickups, I'm having a hard time understanding why we wouldn't pick that up unless it was construction debris. Maybe I could see that, Yes, ma'am. I was a little confused on why we wouldn't pick up the leaves and the special pickups. And I'm aware I think we do 4 a year or 2, 4. Is it 4? Okay, so it's 4 years. So I'd like a follow-up on that, just
Sure.
to see if it was construction debris from a contractor.
No, it was leaves. It was
So-
leaves. And the ordinance is clear,
Yeah.
and he read it to you. If the leaves are bagged and generated by a contractor and left on the side of the road, the town ordinance does not allow us to pick those up. The contractor should be contracted to remove the leaves. The issue that he was speaking about was if the individual is handicapped, should there be an accommodation? And that is certainly something, if you would like, we can take a look at and look at revising the ordinance.
Well-
But if a contractor trims all your bushes and trees and moves it out, we also we chip brush. And many times a homeowner pays a contractor to cut all this material, bring it out to the street, and then the town taxpayer is charged with removing it.
Okay.
So that's the difference. The ordinance doesn't allow Public Works to pick it up if it's generated by a contractor. If there's an accommodation for disabled persons, we can certainly look into that if you'd like us to.
Yes, sir. Miss Lisa, with the dumpsters, they're an eyesore. I can't stand them either. So I've got 3 of them I gotta look at. It's not a one size fits all. So I know you had reached out to me, and I'd like to still have that meeting and to try to brainstorm what we can do. But for all the container units from the public, it might be a good idea because of a labor shortage. Nobody can build fences immediately and pretty much hide those ugly things. If we would offer a grace period of X amount of months or weeks, I know they've already been privileged to a certain amount of time, but if we can help them, you know, and it might be a case-by-case scenario, I'd like to see that. And then to Mitch's comment.
Well, before you move on with
Yeah.
that, because I would need better direction on that. There was a grace period, it was 6 months.
Yep.
That we have enforced it. Some have built their containers, their enclosures, some have not. It's not 100% in violation, it's about less than 50% in violation. So I would need council direction on what to do on a grace period, because right now, all of the, as you directed me last month, all of the violators are under fines now. So there has been a number who have complied and built their containers, their enclosures. So I'm kind of, do I pick and choose winners and losers, or, you know, we enforce the ordinance as you directed me to last month across the board?
And we've been talking this about since December, haven't we?
October
October.
1st.
Next, with the public hearing with outdoor amusements, I agree we need to have some type of structure there, and the businesses need to have, you know, it needs to be structured as far as fitting to the nature of the town. It can't just be thrown up. It can't just, you know, you gotta invest some money, you gotta do a nice job. It needs to follow whatever the suit is of the town, you know, with the parameters. But on the same coin, on the flip side, you can't be government overreach and micromanage business, you know? So just keep that in mind next month when we have that public hearing, because I'm really interested to hear all the ideas that the community has on that. And I'd like to try to make a structured guideline that, like I said, if you invest money into a business, it needs to fit the nature of the mountain. You know, it can't be slapped together. And then the last thing I'd like to discuss is, last month I was corrected about the visitor center expansion and how there was no money set aside for the budget this year. And Bob, if you would educate us on that, and I would like to propose to save the town money. As of right now, it's $800,000 we're looking at. I anticipate it will be more than that, and I would like to table that visitor center expansion, town hall expansion, whatever you'd like to call it. But if you would so kindly educate us on how the money is split up between this year and next year, and the TDA is helping.
Well, sure. I'm calling it the Town Hall Complex.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how much in depth you want me to go. This concept actually came from a previous town manager when the town found that their police department, their planning and zoning department, their town hall function had reached capacity. And if you recall, it wasn't this council, but previous council had made plans to build a public safety complex over where we built the parking lot.
Yes.
And that was budgeted to be, I think it was a little over $2 million. And it was to provide space predominantly for the police department, but to also free up some space in town hall. So fast forward 2 budget cycles ago, we started talking about how to meet that need, and we felt that it would be more cost effective to do a renovation addition at town hall, predominantly for the police department expansion, give them some space, as well as planning and zoning. The visitor center also required some space. They were inundated with visitors. We had bathroom problems. They had no place to meet. They didn't have a conference room. They have one office that they had put multiple people in. So we approached the TDA, the town did, and said, would you like to partner? And we'll do a town hall complex that encompasses the town hall addition as well as the visitor center. The TDA, it was one of their goals for 2 years. So the TDA agreed, and the town and the TDA agreed to split the cost at 50-50, which makes it a very unique, cost-effective manner for the town to grow some space for the police department and the planning and zoning department. And so we move forward, and in this budget, we talked about the plans, and you had some preliminary plans brought to you, and John Merritt discussed it. And we put $800,000 in the capital line item in the budget because we are spending money. We spent about $72,000 in design, engineering, and planning for the project so far to get ready to go out to bid. So the $800,000 is a placeholder. I think it's going to be more than that. I agree with you. Building costs have gone up, and the project has expanded. So, but it's a placeholder. And so what we're doing now is we're in the design phase. As I said, we spent about $72,000 to get it ready to go to bid. As I explained to the TDA last month, the project is on track to go to bid shortly, I would say by the end of the month, if Mr. Merritt gets some engineering done for us. But we're going to get a bid. We're going to get bids on what the construction cost is, and that's going to do two things. We'll have a finite budgetary number on what this project will cost, and then that's the council's opportunity to say yay or nay. So when you take a look at the actual project and the actual cost, then the council would have to approve that contract. Then I've got to walk to the meeting tomorrow, which it won't be tomorrow, but it'll be the next day after the council meeting, to the TDA board, and they get the same opportunity as you do. They now see the cost of the project, and their 50%, they would be required to vote yea or nay on that. And I think at that point, that's when the next decision point should be. I would caution you to postpone it now, because I think we would, although we could probably shelve the plans, there's a lot of momentum that's in place right now. I think we should finish the plans, go to bid, get a cost, an actual cost, and then the council and the TDA make a decision. This is unique, where you have the opportunity with this partnership with the TDA to use non-ad valorem, non-taxpayer dollars at 50%. You're going to get a 50% discount for the taxpayers on this project. The question is, do you feel that it's still needed? Does it meet the requirements of what you've asked to do for the need? And if you do, then we need to tell you how much it's going to cost. I can't do that until I go to bid. So logically, to me at least, the next opportunity for the council and the TDA to make an informed decision is once we have a finite number. Next to the budget and the discussion we had last month, and I've had the same discussion with the TDA, they've sort of struggled with the same thing. This project can't be done in a single budget year, so it's going to cross two budgets, both for the town and the TDA. So we put a placeholder in there, that's the $800,000 you see. We're not going to spend the $800,000 in this budget year, assuming that we bring in numbers in a project that you approve and the TDA approves. We'll have to budget a portion of that project in expenditure here, which that's where we have a placeholder of $800,000. And then the subsequent year, we'll have to budget the remaining completion of the project, if that makes sense. So I don't know what else I could add to that, but that's where we're at. and we're very close to having a final set of biddable plans.
Just, think a $800,000+ visitor center town hall expansion is more of a want than a need at this time. But I'll take your advice and wait till we get a final cost and then see how the rest of the council feels.
Done again?
I guess to expand on what Chief Pudney said, 50 cents on the dollar, that's pretty cost effective. I'm not saying I'm in favor of the expansion or against it, but I think that because of where we are with our taxes and the tax increase that we gave our taxpayers, that, you know, we need to reevaluate everything that's in front of us that we're looking to spend money on, and make sure that, you know, it is something that is needed and not a want. I think in September, October, that's going to be a good indicator of our cash position, and we need to get aggressive in reviewing what our potential millage rate can be next year. Now, it's a done deal, but I think it's high, and I think we're going to have a lot of extra funds that we can play with, and we may not be able to give a reimbursement back to the taxpayers, but I certainly think that we can lower it to meet we can lower it in a responsible manner that's going to benefit the taxpayers. There's no reason not to. The recycling center, last month I had asked you to maybe put some numbers together on what the recycling center cost us. Were you able to do that, Chief?
I've got those here. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Well, you had asked me to develop a number for the cost of operating the recycling center, convenience center. And there's two components there, but the answer is your gross number is $325,624, and that's an annualized cost. Not all of that is available for cutting. And understanding the operation over there, not only do we have the compactors that take household waste, which I think that's what you're targeting, and that's what the cost would look at, but we also operate the recycling shed, which we may be required by the state to continue. There is some requirements, particularly for our commercial businesses, that they have to have a recycling system in place. And most of our, a lot of our residents continue to recycle and wish to continue that. So there's a question whether that portion has to remain. It may or may not. The piece that has to remain is the transfer dock, because when we do curbside pickup, the smaller trucks come back, transfer the trash into the larger containers. We put them on the cable truck, and they're hauled to the landfill in Watauga. That's the cycle. That transfer dock and those large containers and cable trucks and the associated employees that go with that have to remain. We can't pick the garbage up in front of your house and store it at the recycling center. We have to move that through. So when we pull those out, you have left about $265,000 that's available to cut if you were to close the convenience center portion, which is the two compactors predominantly.
And I'm not proposing that we close down the recycling center by any means. That's a pretty healthy number. Well, I mean, in the scheme of things, with our budget being $10+ million, $265,000 isn't a lot of money. However, if we can save 200 here, 100 here, 50 there, at the end of the day, it adds up to quite a bit of money. I would just be curious, going through the exercise. I think the compactors, the way our supply chain has been disrupted, I think that we could probably get, if we did go in a direction of considering closing it. Let me back up. The bins for the town to pick this up is $1,000. Is that correct? $1,000, $1,100?
What's that? The bare bins?
Yes, sir. For the bare bins.
They're running about $1,000.
So I think this year would be a bad year to give our taxpayers of the increase that we did. And then, oh, by the way, then you gotta pay $1,000 for a bin. I don't think that's good business. However, I think it would be good, whether we do it this year or do it next year, is just go through the exercise and say, what if we did close down the recycling center? What savings, if any, would be available? And what inconvenience would it be to the homeowners? And what are the pros and what are the cons? And I think it's worth going through the exercise. Other than that, thank you for everyone that came tonight and voiced your opinion. Your opinion is important, regardless if you're, I think some get confused that because you're not a full-time resident, that your voice doesn't count, and your voice does count. You're a taxpayer, and I think that's the same as being a resident. So please continue to come to the meetings, voice your opinion to your family, your friends, and get other people involved. There's a lot of horsepower on this mountain, and your participation and input is appreciated. Thank you.
Hey, Bob, how much, do you have a count, how many people go through the community center?
I don't. We had a counter, and it broke,
Too many people went through?
I guess. I don't know. It's all anecdotal. We could certainly do a 30-day study. It's very cyclical with the time of the year. I would have liked to have done it in July, but.
Or December?
Or December. If that's something you'd like me to do, we can do that.
Well, I do.
You do what?
I go through the convenience center.
I think the more numbers we have, just to have a discussion, the more numbers we have, the more information we have.
Well, I think we're, I think we would have a lot of a public input before we make any kind of decision.
Absolutely.
Any kind of decision on that. Because I believe we have, I'm sure we get close to 300 people
A day?
a month on that.
Yes.
Oh, more than that in a month.
Or even more than that,
It's probably a day.
even a day.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of
just
people.
based on the solid waste.
So-
Well, my point is that people are asking us that they won't
But you can't,
cut taxes, or
You
not
can't-
cut taxes, but cut costs.
yeah, but I know, but you're taking convenience away from the client, from the customer, to say that I'm gonna cut your taxes. You can't have both. So there's a fine balance that you have to do there, and the convenience center has been a thing that this town has been loving forever. And you wanna turn around and say we're gonna close it?
I didn't say that.
I'm, just wait till after the election, so I'll be gone, so you can do it.
It's not
Yeah,
like
we
we're
got
running
to.
for US Congress. So,
Believe me, the people that are sitting out there don't think we are.
Mayor, if I could just clarify, because there seems to be and maybe I've got this wrong, closing the convenience center, which runs on sanitation fees only, it's an enterprise fund.
Correct.
Does nothing
To
to save money on taxes.
correct.
Okay, all right, I want to make sure we understood that, because convenience center or no convenience center, the ad valorem tax does not fund that. It's funded through the sanitation enterprise fund.
I think everybody on the council will look at next year, see what the revenues come in. And I'm sure we'll relook at it next year for as far as the taxes are concerned. We're not closed-minded to it. And we might turn around and say it'd be 74 at that point. You never know. Just joking. Don't throw any tomatoes this way. But it's something we'll look at next year. I mean, we're not closed-minded to it, and hopefully we can do it. As far as the gentleman with the handicap, I think we need to find some kind of accommodation. We should be able to do something for them.
I agree.
So whatever we have to do, if you want to change the ordinance, or if you want to make a special amendment to the ordinance, or whatever.
Well, I think the ordinance, Mayor, and I'll defer to the town attorney, but the ordinance is clear what we can't do, and we'll need to make an amendment to the ordinance, which we can have to you next meeting.
Yes, sir, we can do that.
I
What-
think,
What would happen if someone cut a tree down and leave the limbs, a contractor would cut a tree down and leave the limbs. And I'm not opposed to what you're saying. I agree with that. It would be nice if we could do something. But if you had a contractor that left the limbs and the debris there and expected the town to clean it up, then what?
Well, that's the reason the ordinance is written the way it is. I think the recommendation today was to make an accommodation for disabled individuals. And that, I think carving that out is going to be the town attorney's task, so that we continue to limit those who hire contractors and saves a few bucks to have the town taxpayers haul it away, and those who are, disabled who just can't do it, and the town attorney says we can do it, we'll have something for you next month.
And I'm not opposed, Mr. Morgan, to what we're discussing. I think if we could do something, that would be nice. My only concern would be if you pay a contractor to do leaves, or you do remove the roof, or whatever it is, that if we do change the ordinance, that we make it closed loop, that it's not a snowball effect with another item and another item and another item. And then we have to go back to the original ordinance and say, I'm sorry, we gotta go back to the original ordinance.
Our town attorney is very skilled at that.
I'll see what I can
Our
come up
trust
with.
is in you.
That's all right, the answer.
And I'd be glad to help you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
I'm not familiar with the American with Disabilities Act.